Okay, picking up where we left off, we're talking about, regular expressions. So the next one we're going to talk about is called bracket expansion. So bracket expansion is something like, I want to do grep, and then I want to say, I don't know, starts with a, well, we'll do the same thing. It's a 5-character letter, 5 characters, and then the third letter could be either an A, a B, or a C. Okay? I don't care which one. And then 2 other characters after that. Okay, so this is a 5-character word that has A, B, or C in the third position. And there's a bunch of them. Okay, isn't that pretty cool? A couple things you could do is you could go in here and say, all right, instead of doing them one like A, B, C, D, E, that could get kind of tiring after a while. You could use a dash, okay, which means A through C, which should give me the same thing, right? So that's just another way of doing it. Okay, cool. Or you can say this. Now this, let me tell you, this gets a little confusing because remember how we use the caret to mean as an anchor at the beginning? Well, they also use the caret on the inside of a square brackets to mean not. Again, consistency was never one of their strong suits. So what this means is all 5-character words that do not have an A through a C in that position. And of course, it'll be a gazillion of them. Okay, kind of sort of makes sense. All right, so let's go back and do a couple more examples here. So I'm going to do a grep minus H. What does H do? Does that mean I do want to see the file names or not want to see the file names? Okay, good. So I'm going to say, we're going to find either a B or a G zip. And I want that to be dir list. Okay? Okay, I'm in the words directory. So let me just CD back to my home. And then I'm going to use the up arrow to do that again. Okay, so the BRG, right? The little square with the little jets. Okay. So that's pretty cool. The H basically means I just want to, don't show me the headers. Don't show me the file names, where they came from. All right, so the very common uses for these kind of things are, A through Z. Let's say I want everything with a capital letter, all right? So, man, we're getting, okay, I'll just make up something. I can't really think. So let's do, from dir list, we'll do, I don't know. We'll do, starts with a lower, well, I don't think we have any uppercase in here. This is going to be a dumb example. Okay, so if I said do A through Z, okay, starts with an A through Z and is 3 characters long. I'm making that up. I have no idea. I have no idea if this is going to work. Oh, man, there's a bunch of them. Hey, that's not 3 characters long. Oh, I forgot to put the doodad in there to make that 3 characters long. By the way, isn't that confusing? I mean, the caret before the square brackets means one thing. The caret after the square brackets means something else. Okay, this is a dumb one because I went A to Z. Let's do A through M or something, or L, whatever. I gotta have something so it makes a little bit of sense to you guys, so my examples don't look stupid. Okay, cool. So 3 letters start with A through Z. So a capital, I'm not going to do one, but a capital A through Z would find capital letters. A lowercase A through Z would find lowercase letters. 0 through 9 is another common example, right? Cool. And then there's the POSIX character classes on page 256. And they basically allow you to get a little bit more. For example, I want to find all uppercase letters, all lowercase letters, all space characters. A space would be a space on the keyboard, perhaps it's a tab, a new line, and then, all alpha, all numeric, those kinds of things. So it gives you a heck of a lot better control over what kind of thing you're searching for. Again, the POSIX has, the basic regular expression, like what we've been doing. And then they have this extended thing. And let me tell you, I have an entire book on doing regular expressions. Yes, regular expressions are kind of sort of tough. But luckily, if you ever find yourself in a position where you actually have to do extended regular expressions, man, okay, I know how to do it, but man, I go to these websites a lot. For example, I want to find how do you verify a valid email address? Well, that is a heck of a lot of stuff. I mean, there is all these examples here of, okay, so there's A through Z, Norse capital letters, 0 through 9, and then something plus, and then so these things are very, very complicated because they could include, let's do the one for IP address. So the IP address one is complex because it's the number of digits, and then, I don't know, D stands for digits, and you tell it you have 1 to 3 digits there, and Anyway, the bottom line is this is complicated, and I normally don't try to do this from memory, even though I'm supposed to be good at it. I actually go to the websites and figure out how to do extended regular expressions. So we're going to kind of ignore that for a bit. Okay. Mainly just because, dang it, that thing is too dang complicated. We could teach an entire class on regular expression. I mean, entire semester class on regular expression. It is that good and that complicated, and I'm not going to do that for you guys now. All right, so let's do some more examples. All right, so I'm going to find all words that start with an A that are 4 letters long. Okay, how would I do that? So first of all, I'm going to say grep, and then I'm going to use the anchor because I said I want 4 characters. So it starts with an A, and then 1, 2, 3 characters long, right? I don't have to put do I have to put the $sign out there? Yeah, I got to have the $sign. That means exactly 4 characters long, starts with an A, right? Okay. And then I have to give it the thing. So it's user share the words. Okay, so there's all the 4-letter words that start with an A. Yay! Okay. Now, let me tell you, it's on page 264. If you've, I don't know what page that is, but anyway, just flip through, you'll find it. It talks about the find command. Remember, the find command will go out and find things, and one of the things you can do is you can say find all files starting at the beginning location. I can say name, and then I could put in I want to hunt for something that ends in txt. Okay, like this, and it gives me all the things that end in text. Okay, cool. But you can also use regular expressions here. Instead of using name, which is using the simple kind of thing, we would actually go in here and say regex, and then you could put real honest to God regular expressions in there. Same thing with the less command and in VI. So, whoops, I don't really want to do that again, but who cares? Okay, so let's say I did less on, well, I don't care. These guys, okay. Now, if I just did a slash right here, okay, that's the synonym for find, and then I could go in and put a regular expression thing. I could say, like, zip, right? And then it finds all those guys, okay? So the VI command and less and find all use regular expressions. They can use both the basic regular expressions and the extended regular expressions. So regular expressions are kind of sort of cool. Okay, so that's the introduction to regular expressions. It's by no means a complete view of regular expressions. I am going to have you do on a test. I am going to have you go through and say, if I gave you these files and you did this regular expression, which one would give me what I want? That kind of stuff. Like, which one is going to give me only the third one on the list, as an example? And you're going to have to noodle it out in your head on how to make that work. Okay, so that's the end of that chapter, and we're ready to switch over to the other book. Dun, dun, dun. So now we've got the big fat book. And so we're on chapter 2 in the big fat book. Okay, so this one is all about booting and system management daemon. So what the hell's a daemon? What, doesn't that sound like something from a scary movie or something? So let's just talk about how the system actually boots up. what happens when you turn the machine on? Well, it's got an awful lot of stuff to do. I mean, it's going to go find things and load things and run the bootstrap. And then it goes finding and loads the actual honest-to-God operating system kernel. And then it runs a bunch of login scripts and startup scripts. And then, of course, it has to maintain what they call hygiene. Maintain the system hygiene to make sure that nothing stops it's not supposed to stop and everything that runs is supposed to run, that kind of stuff. So here's an example of what this thing kind of sort of looks like. Is, okay, I power my machine on, and then it loads something. It loads the BIOS. Now, most likely a modern machine now wouldn't use a normal BIOS. It would use the EUFI, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then it probes for the hardware to find primarily to find the boot device. Okay, it pokes around your system saying, well, I see a couple of hard drives here, maybe a thumb drive and a CD-ROM. And then you have to select the boot device. And then it identifies the EFI partition and says, okay, I see a partition down here that kind of says we need to start this thing. And then the bootloader. Now, the bootloader, in our case, is probably going to be Grub. And bootloader would allow you to choose which operating system you wanted. If you had one system that had multiple operating systems on it, when you boot it up, it would just come up to a little menu and say, so, what would you like to run today? Oh, I'd like to run Linux. And then determine which one you want to boot, then load the kernel, and then start up the data structures, and then start up this thing called init. And then execute the startup scripts, and then finally your system is up and running. So this is kind of, sort of, simple, kind of, sort of. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So the system's firmware, okay, that's the BIOS. It probes for the devices, makes a list. Does some simple health checks to make sure that, for example, that the devices that you're attached to aren't corrupted, that kind of thing. And then once it kind of does that, it passes it on. Now, the legacy BIOS, that's the old style. And what this happened is, whenever you had a formatted disk, the first sector, the first physical sector in the system was primarily what they called the boot record. And that's where that BIOS thing kind of went to. The BIOS said, I want you to go to this boot record and then do whatever the hell it says to do. Now, you can probably imagine that the boot record had to be very, very specific to the architecture. But the boot record doesn't really know, not really, it doesn't really know what operating system you're getting ready to boot, okay? Not really. So it's going to look at the disk partitioning to see how many partitions you have. And then it's going to go from there and say, well, I think I got everything I need. I'm going to pass this thing on to the next process. So the BIOS system was pretty dumb. And part of the problem with using the BIOS version of booting is that, sectors at most sectors at the time were 512 bytes. That means that bootloader we're talking about, that thing could be no more than 512 bytes of RAM. I mean, that is tiny, tiny. And so you couldn't do anything really sophisticated. Like you couldn't have any permissions or anything like that. There was just not enough room to do all that. Way, way, way too small. Okay. And so, anyway, the bootloader thing. And then we switched over to the new guy. UEFI. UEFI. I'm going to Google that. So if I type in UEFI, this is the new Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. What happened is all the manufacturers got together with the vendors of the software and said, look, we need something better than this old system because this is just nuts. And so this is kind of the way they went. Okay, we're coming up on the 15-minute mark, so you know what we're going to do.